Hello. You have now approached cell energy, photosynthesis, and respiration notes. These notes will be broken into 2 days. First notes we're going to take are on photosynthesis, then the next notes are going to be on respiration. You need to know that energy needs to be all living things. All living things need energy. You need energy. Without energy, you fall asleep in my class first block. When you have energy, you get it from your food. Originally, the energy in your food comes from the sun, such as this food chain that you can see here. The sun gives the energy to the producer, which are the plants and the green things that have chloroplast. That's what we're going to be talking about today, our producers. Then the producers are eaten by the first-order consumers, which are herbivores. They eat only plants. Then they are eaten by the second-order consumers called omnivores. Omnivores tend to eat plants and animals. These are the majority of the people that we know. And then they become third-order consumers, such as a carnivore like a wolf. And then they become detrivores. Detrivores are decomposers. If you look, you can see vultures, mosquitoes, mushrooms, earthworms. And what they break up and release goes back into the air, water, and soil. Organisms that use light energy from the sun to produce food are called autotrophs. Auto means self. If you think about an automobile, it gets yourself from one place to the other by using energy in the form of gasoline. The best example of these are plants and some microorganisms, such as bacteria and protists. If you remember back to protists, the euglena were green, and they were green because they had chloroplasts in them. The chloroplasts help make them an autotroph. Organisms that cannot use the sun's energy to make food is called heterotrophs. Example, animals and most microorganisms. If you remember the amoeba, it was clear and it had pseudopods, and the pseudopods would come out and grab food and bring it into itself to eat. Cell energy. Cells can't use the food the way that we digest it, so they use it based on energy currency, and energy currency is called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine means adenine plus ribose, and then triphosphate means there's 3, 1, 2, 3 phosphate groups. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. So again, you have the adenine, the ribose, and the 2 phosphate groups, 1, 2. If you notice, the only difference is di, meaning 2, versus tri, meaning 3. All energy is stored in the bonds of compounds. Breaking the bond releases the energy. So going from ATP to ADP is going to release energy. Going from ADP to ATP is going to store energy. When the cell has energy available, it can store this energy by adding a phosphate group to ADP, such as I said, producing ATP. So if you look, here they have ADP and energy, and it becomes ATP. Just remember, di means we've used it, tri means we're storing it. ATP is converted into ADP by breaking the bond between the second and third phosphate groups and releasing energy for cellular processes. So if you look, here is adenosine triphosphate. You put the energy in, we get adenosine triphosphate. If we break it and get the energy out, we get the adenosine diphosphate. Energy in, tri, energy out, di. So, now we get to the topic of photosynthesis. You do need to know that photosynthesis is the process by which the energy of sunlight is converted into the energy of glucose. You need to also know that glucose, which ends in OSE, is a sugar. Think about sucrose. This is the sugar that you eat in your sweet tea. This is a sugar. Fructose. This is the sugar that is found in fruit. So if you look, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water going into the leaf, this is called the reactants, let out the oxygen and glucose, which are called the products. Photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplasts of the plants. The chloroplasts are what make our plants green. It also is what makes them red and blue sometimes. A light-absorbing compound is a pigment. Pigments absorb some wavelengths of light and reflect others. The color our eyes see is the color that the pigment reflects. So in other words, the other ones are absorbed. So in the chloroplast, the green light is reflected, whereas all the other colors are absorbed. Chlorophyll is the pigment inside the chloroplast that absorbs light for photosynthesis. And if you look here, the leaves here are not all green anymore. They're yellow and red and orange. As the chlorophyll in leaves decays in the autumn, the green color fades and is replaced by the oranges and reds of carotenoids. This is the general formula for photosynthesis. You need to remember it, memorize it, write it down, do whatever you need to do. Now you don't only need the words, but you need the symbols. The symbols are 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water, which is H2O, plus light yields C6H12O6 plus 6 oxygen, O2. Remember that plants give us our oxygen. So, this is a picture of a chloroplast. What I'm going to show you is a simple diagram. The reactants, again, we said, were light, water, and carbon dioxide. What happens is we go through the light-dependent reaction, which means that we need the light, but it doesn't mean that it always has to happen in the light. Then we go through the Calvin cycle. And if you notice, there's a whole bunch of letters here, NADP, ADP, ATP, and NADPH. So all chemical reactions that are going on in your cell. The products are oxygen and glucose. And remember, this happens in the chloroplast. In summary, the light-dependent reaction is where water is broken down and light energy is stored temporarily in inorganic energy carriers or holders, ATP and NADPH. And during the Calvin cycle, energy is transferred from ATP and NADPH to the organic compound glucose. And remember, glucose is a sugar. I'll see you next time on cellular respiration.